Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Pearsall. I am the community manager here at Social Emotional Learning and Education Community, and I just want to thank you all for joining us for the next in our series of SELinEdu speakers. And I'm really excited that today we get to hear from Gunjan Tomar, who is a longtime social emotional learning champion and a fabulous contributor to this community, and also has a day job where she is the activities coordinator and SEL facilitator at DPS International, an IB school outside of Delhi in India. And she's going to be joining us today to share strategies on how to use social emotional learning to help foster a happy classroom. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Gunjan. You can feel free to join us here, and we will get started. Oh, I think you are still muted, Gunjan.
Yes, sorry. Namaste from India. A very good evening to everyone from India, and maybe, good morning at various other places in the world.
Yeah.
Should we start?
Yeah, let's get started.
Okay, great. So I would just like to share my screen here, and we'll begin with the presentation. Please let me know when you are able to see my presentation.
Yep, it's right up there. Thank you.
Great. So thank you very much, Matt, for inviting me on for this SELinEdu. Thank you to SELinEdu also for inviting me, for sharing my learning from, whatever I have learned as a facilitator in the classrooms. So we begin with strategies for a happy classroom. So when, to begin with what are happy classrooms, so I had asked my student, what they feel is happy classroom, and this is what my student Sia had written. What is her definition of happy classroom? What she said is, a happy classroom should mean the students have an understanding with each other and the form tutor. Form tutor is the class homeroom tutor or the class teacher that we generally call. We call our class teachers, or the mother teacher, as form tutor here. She said, classrooms are happy when we have interactive sessions in classroom discussions are going on, general discussions are going on. The activity packed classroom is also a happy classroom, where more group tasks which require socializing with peers happen. So that's something she defined as a happy classroom. And she also said that group tasks help us connect with each other and make us happy. Qualities that help connect teacher and students. I had asked them, I said, what are the qualities? What is that one thing that you feel that should be between teacher and a student that helps make classrooms happy classrooms? So what she said was patience, balance of humor and work, being caring and open-minded in when it comes to the facilitators. And the quality that helped connect student and student was trust, common grounds of interest, introverts to introverts, common interest. They can have extroverts to extroverts and introverts to extroverts. When I asked her why introverts to extroverts, she said opposites attract. So that was her explanation of a happy classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So over a period of time, how we have evolved as facilitators, teachers, when we began with the definition of teacher, which got transformed into a facilitator who was a guiding force, who was guiding the students to arrive at the learning that they want to direct it from a teacher to facilitator. It became the transition was from a teacher-led classroom to the student-led classroom, where the learning was facilitated. Then came the era of language teacher. Every teacher is a language teacher, because language is something that is very, 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 very close to all of us. And if we are not language teachers, I think it will be difficult for us to teach our students also.
Mm-hmm.
Then came the revolutionized time of COVID pandemic, when we all became technology facilitators too. And with COVID and with the kind of isolation we all were dealing with, including the students, we all had to put in our shoes into the role of a self-facilitator. So there is no specific qualification for a self-facilitator. We all are self-facilitator in our classrooms. So to begin with, this is something very close to my heart, moodometer activity. So when I showed this to her, she said, "Oh, okay." I said, "How do you feel when we do this in our classroom, when we check what is your mood, how are you feeling?" And now we have got different stickers and different way of expressing, this is something related to small babies, primary
Hmm.
school students, they love doing it. But when they come to middle school or senior school, they don't associate with this. So there are some brilliant stickers which has come up in Microsoft Teams and other platforms also, which talks about I am cool. Hey dude, where are you? So this was something that when I asked, I said, would you like to use these stickers when we ask you how are you feeling? So yeah, she said, yeah, these stickers they sound cool. So if you have this kind of interaction with us in the beginning of the class, it is great. So this is what my thing was when we talk about doing a moodometer activity. What does it actually does to the students? It helps students in identifying different emotions and recognizing and learning about identifying facial expressions and body language, which if we do it right from the beginning, it helps them. It is the thing that we need when we grow up. It is the thing that we need when we are interacting with the
Hmm.
facilitators, the friends, the teachers, everybody. This helps us a lot. If we are able to recognize, label the emotions correctly, we know how to deal with it. We know this is what it is,
Hmm.
and what and how I can regulate my emotion in an appropriate way, helping students to understand healthy expressions of emotions, how they feel and cope with the emotions, and how the emotions matter, how each and
Hmm.
every emotion matter, irrespective of the fact that they are the emotions which are the emotions of being angry, the emotions of being happy, the emotions of being sad. Every emotion is an important emotion, and that's what makes us a unique creature called human being. Establishing connection with emotions and experiences, expressing feelings using appropriate vocabulary, and being able to sort and label emotions correctly. If I'm able
Hmm.
to label them correctly, I will be able to recognize them, I will be able to regulate them, I will be able to understand when it happens with my peers. I will be able to, it helps me in relationship building when I'm able to understand who you are, who others are. It also helps me in responsible decision making and encouraging students to have positive mindset. That is what we all are looking at when we talk about social emotional learning. We all are going to become something or the other. There is no rat race of I want to become this thing and I want to become that thing. We all will find our places in the world that we are living in. Important is how, what kind of human beings are we all, and that is what is the whole world educators and agencies are paying more attention to, is
Hmm.
being human and having inculcate the qualities of social emotional well-being.
Hmm.
This was an experience when I was being called in a school during COVID lockdown, and it was grade 10 students. They were really, really, feeling low, and they had a feeling of isolation because this was for the first time the whole world faced this kind of situation. So I was being called as a guest speaker for a quality circle time to help them cope with the emotion and help them, understand that these are all part and parcel of life, and every experience, or whether it is good or bad, is an experience which helps us grow, which helps us
Hmm.
evolve. So this was something, very simple thing I had said, we will begin the session by sharing an experience about a word which I jumbled up, something to establish a connect with, because I didn't know the students, and it was
Yeah.
important for me to establish that connect with the students, so you put their minds to work. And I also gave them, it was not a very challenging kind of thing, because the objective was not to make them feel that I am not able to do it, but to make them feel connected. So I had also said that share your experience in the chat window, and you can refer to the picture for the cue to unscramble the word. If the picture you can see, that was a lock, and the second word also, if you kind of see the words, it's lock. So they could easily identify it's COVID lockdown. So this is how the session began. Then they started sharing the experiences in the classroom.
I'm
What?
I'm sorry. Seeing South Park show up in an SEO. This is the first. It's the first for a social emotional learning presentation. Sorry.
Great. So, when I asked them to share their responses, what were their responses, what were their experiences in COVID lockdown, these were some of the responses that they shared. They said they learned new things. Some of them said they were bored sitting at home and they simply couldn't go out to enjoy the weather. Some of them said, lockdown feeling was very, very boring, and all the time we were there in gadgets and learning through screens were difficult. So these were some of the experiences that they said that these were some of the experiences that we experienced during the lockdown. So my next activity was, I asked them to go through each experience that they had posted in the chat, whether whatever experience they have shared, and their peers have also shared in the chat, and sort them under PMNI strategy. When I say PMNI strategy, this is what PMI strategy means. P means good, the happy experiences. M means minus, that is not so good or not so happy experiences, and I is something interesting. So interestingly, some things that were being plus for some students were interesting for others, and some things that were being interesting for some students were plus for others. So we kind of we asked the students to sort them, and I shared my Padlet link with the students, and this is what they sorted. The experiences that they shared, that they had sorted the experiences that were being put in the chat under plus, minus, and interesting. These are some of the responses from the students. So the idea was for them to understand that which emotion or which experience they associate as a good experience, which experience they associate as an interesting experience, and which experience do they associate as a minus or a not so good experience.
This is a
So
really
that
neat
is how,
thing. Yeah, this is I like this. This is a nice, simple, like,
yeah,
activity people can do remotely.
yeah,
Yeah.
this was an online thing, so we had an online session. So this was something very interesting that they all liked. And they, at the same time, they all realized, this is what they associate this kind of experience. Sorting of experience was also another experience for them. And then I asked them to think about which experience they would like to associate themselves with. So, and I also told them that, being in a situation we are in, also when you are thinking about the responses in the chat, keep in mind that during this COVID situation, what is there in your control and what is there which is not in your control.
Mm-hmm.
Something which is not in my control is something which I shouldn't be bothered about. I can only do something which is in my control. So, being humans, we all have a tendency of, associating ourselves with something good, nice memories. Nobody likes being sad, nobody likes being angry, nobody likes to associate himself or herself with not so very good experiences in life. So this is what the students, the obvious answers were either we would like to associate ourselves with the plus experiences or interesting experiences. I want to have something good in my life, or I want to have something interesting in my life, and my life is sorted out for me. So this is a very beautiful video which I showed them. It's just a 2-minute video. I'll just quickly, show this video, and it was all just to tell them that life was, is, and will be beautiful always, and being human is all we need to remember. That's it. Very beautiful video from BBC, and this actually touched their heart, and I will just share what they shared after they watch the video. So this was something which was very nice, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a message to them saying that, despite of having so many odds, there were so many things which were positive too. This was also a time when we were so busy with our day-to-day schedules that we didn't have time for our families. That bonding had happened. Ozone layer had, revived because of COVID, and many other things have happened. And it's also was the time, despite of having so much of trauma for each and every one of us, it also taught us the value of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
This was another activity which I did with them, something very very interesting. And it's called, I called it let's flip it. So I had told them, I had very thoughtfully gathered these pictures from somewhere, and there are 6 pictures here, and each picture depicts happiness. So you can choose any picture from this picture, and then tell me how is that picture depicting happiness. So there was one picture. The picture number one had 4 5 children standing. Picture two had the girl who was, painting something. The third picture had I think it was a picture of a family. Fourth was a dancing girl or a boy, and fifth was a story time, and sixth was a lady holding books. So I told them, I said, each and everyone has been very thoughtfully picked, and each and everyone is depicting happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So this was what their response was. Picture one, they said, they're happy because all friends are together, so they are happy. Picture two, where there was a girl who was playing with colors. So they said, the student said that, picture two, the girl is happy because she's enjoying painting and she's free to use color the way she wants. That's the reason she's happy. Picture three, what students say, it's a family members are enjoying and having quality time with each other. That's the reason they're happy. For picture four, they said boy is expressing his happiness by dancing on his hand, because that's his USP. He can balance on his hands, and he can, whenever he's happy, he dances on his hands to show his happiness. Picture five, they said that, children are happy because it's story time and they connect with stories. Sixth picture, they said, the lady is happy because she enjoys reading. So then I told them that, let me tell you one thing. What I told you was that, I had picked up these pictures very thoughtfully, and, to tell you that these pictures are depicting happiness were not the pictures that I had thoughtfully picked up, but these were the random pictures from internet that I had collected, because I conditioned your mind, that your mind, these are happy pictures, so you started finding happiness in them. So this makes us, think about what Disney had to say. Happiness is a state of mind. and it's just according to the way we look at things, and we become happy. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one message that I wanted to give them, despite of whatever odds we are in. So it's always, how you tune in your mind, how you train your mind to be happy, to find happiness in whatever we have with us. Then it was time for them to share their happiness mantra or the coping mantra. I remember, Matt, you had asked me what mantras are long time back when we had come up with well-being mantra. So mantra is a Hindi word which means an affirmation to motivate and inspire oneself. It is typically a positive phrase or statement that we use to affirm the way we want to live our life. So that was something, one statement, any phrase that you feel will give you motivation or will give you happiness or will give you a reason to lead your life happily, is something that I asked them, and I gave them a Google, a Microsoft form, and I asked them to fill that form, and I gave them the liberty of, if you're free to either write your name or not write your name, depending on, whether how comfortable you are sharing your names. So these were the responses that I got. There were many more. The students were around 80 to 90 students. So these were the responses. And the first response, if you see, is all is well.
Mm.
So this has a association with a very, very, very famous Hindi movie, in which was all about students, and it was all about the way students learn, and the students need to follow their passion instead of going into a rat race of becoming engineers and doctors. If you're not willing to become, you should follow your passion. And this was something, when these students used to get into trouble, so they used to do like this: all is well, all is well. So that was their coping mantra,
Mm-hmm.
and that is how they could come up with the solution. So this child, had written that all is well. So there were many other the messages that the students, the mantras that the students had come up with. So they said, happy soul is the best shield for a cruel world. They
Mm.
had, but this is also an opportunity to get into the minds of your students, to understand what they are going through, to be able to address it appropriately in a classroom,
Mm-hmm.
or as a one-on-one thing. So these were some certain things. These are some mantras that they all gave, and here are some tips and tricks about happy classrooms. So when we talk about happy classrooms, it's all about teaching learning environment. And when we have a teaching learning environment, it becomes important for all of us to have some set, I would not call it rules, because the
Mm-hmm.
moment we hear the word rule, there is a feeling that that is something is being imposed on us. So we call them essential agreements in our classrooms. So this is something which we work collaboratively with the students, and with agreement they form, how the class should function. And if you look at these are some examples from the internet, but generally, because we could not go to the classrooms,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the wordings of the classroom, no negative or or a word is being used. We have tried to transform that word into a positive statement or a phrase.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a student of grade 2 or grade 1 were being told, what are the things that you think is important for a for a classroom environment to be conducive and meaningful. So they said we should not be running on the floor. So we said that, okay, if you're not running, then what are you doing? So they said, okay, if you're not running, then we're walking. So we have removed the word not from the vocabulary. So they're walking, so transforming it in a positive. Why we are walking? Why can't we run? So because if we run, we can get hurt in a classroom, because classroom is not a place to run. So this was what essential agreements was all about. Since we have been doing it over a period of time with all our students in the beginning of the session and the beginning of the term, this is what my students' feedback is. She said, ma'am, every time you are using the same word, essential agreement, it's losing its essence. So
Mm.
this is what she had to say. Instead of calling them essential agreement, you could ask the class to describe how they would like to see the class, or
Mm.
how they think the class would be.
Mm-hmm.
Because many times saying essential agreements feels like a formality,
Yeah.
that we are just making them do, but they do not follow.
Mm-hmm.
So the takeaway from this was, reinvent, rediscover words. We reinvented rules to essential agreements. Now, when you think, this kind of situation is arriving in your class, it's time to rethink or reinvent a word.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, whatever we put, whatever agreement is there, there should be a feeling of connect. So let the students decide what they want to, put
Mm-hmm.
as rules for them. So because then that will give them a feeling of belonging, that
Mm-hmm.
will give them the feeling of that it belongs to them, and that will also give them the kind of authority of, this class belongs to them too. Another thing was some activities like, this is my superpower, let me guess yours, to understand, how we all know our own strengths, and we all know that, what we are good at. But it's very good, it gives a very good feeling to a person whom you say, I know what your strength is. So it's also recognizing his abilities, or appreciating him, boosting his self-esteem. So this is what it was. And I had suggested, we can make a acrostic poem. So this was a child, Saurabh, who had made this poem. I had taken this from internet. So that was
Mm-hmm.
just to show as an example. So this was Saurabh. So Saurabh, how would you define your strength as? And Saurabh has defined it for Nigel also. So that can be in the form of acrostic poem. But my student said, no, that becomes too much of work, and that becomes a learning kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think I like the idea of the cup. So the student whom I would like to suggest something good, some superpower, I can also put that in the cup and give that to him as a virtual thing. So that was something which I found very interesting. That was something that she also found interesting. So she was also assessing me on the kind of presentation I have made, and is it actually, towards making happy classrooms, because I was looking at it from the perspective of a facilitator, and she gave me an insight of a student. So thank you, Sia, mentioning your name again. Thank you so much. Another nice tip and trick. She also liked this very much. Happiness captured in happiness jar. Little drops of happiness makes an ocean of joy. So something, students can write why they're happy, which can be put up on the classroom bulletin board. This is what one student had to say: I'm happy to share that I could solve math sum on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And this child was constantly struggling with the sum, and constantly he was needing his peers help or facilitators help to help him with the math sum. But the day he was able to do it, he was so happy. So that is something to celebrate. He can put it on the board. I am happy to share my group presentation was awesome. Thanks to my group members. I am happy to share that I was able to manage my time efficiently this week. All submissions for this week done. Yippee. I am happy to share that Miss Johnson appreciated my singing in class. So something that you feel associated with, something that you feel happy with, share that happiness with others with this happiness jar activity. And she said, this is what my student had suggested. She said, we can have individual envelopes with people's name on it, and people can anonymously put compliments for that child in that envelope with his or her name. And by the end of the day, when the students leave, they can see, what is so great about them, what have they done good to people. So something good to recognize each other's potential, and how good we all are with each other. Another thing was staying positive with positive communication. We thought of three games, or three activities. Positive word connect. It was something like why we call in India Antakshini. Like we start with we sing a song, and the other person starts that song with the word which I end the song with. This was a word connect. We start with the word positive. Positive ends with E. We connect it with the other person. It gets passed on to other person. He has to think of a positive word with the letter E. So he thinks of efficient. Efficient ends with T. So it gets passed on to the another student. So that's how we are developing a positive vocabulary of positive
Mm-hmm.
words. So that became talented. Talented ended with D. D became dynamic. Dynamic ended with C. C became calm. Calm ended with M, M became magnificent, and it kept going on. Second activity was let's spin a story of our own positive experiences. So I, being in a virtual classroom, I share my a positive experience and I share a chit with the student's name. Then that thing gets transferred to that student. He shares a positive experience. And this is something that, even primary school and middle school students can do, something that senior students would like to do and would not like to do, story kind of thing. That's too kiddish for them. So what they do is giving them real life situations in the classroom and making them the stakeholders, making them the decision makers to decide, how do we do by understanding the pros and cons of each situation. So this is also, we are empowering them to become a responsible decision maker. Another thing was we do learning in classrooms, giving them a choice. It's my learning, it's my choice, and of course, my voice. So it's giving them the freedom to express their understanding the way they want. See, our learning outcome is to gauge students' understanding, but giving them the freedom to express the understanding the way they want it gives them a sense of empowerment, because I might not be good at writing essay, but I'm certainly good with speaking. I might not be good at speaking, but I'm certainly good with drawing. So this gives them a power to express themselves. And here we are not kind of gauging students' written abilities. We are trying to gauge students' understanding here. So that is something that empowers students to express, and they enjoy doing this. So something in a physical classroom was choice board, where you can look into multiple intelligences. Similar thing can happen on a virtual platform, where you can use these are some of the tools that you can use, any Powtoons, Flipgrid, word wall, anything. And there, if you can see, there is the center portion, center box is left vacant for free choice. So if you do not like any of these choice, you are free to choose your own tool or your own way of expressing your understanding, and then you can put it there. So that was one activity. This was something very interesting when I asked her, now you think about, how happiness looks like, sounds like, smells like, feels like, and tastes like. So this is what my students had to share. Give me 1 minute. Give me just 1 minute. I'm so sorry. I am very sorry. Uh, Sorry. I will just do it in a presentation mode. Yeah, this is what was it all about. This is my expression through 5 senses of happiness. This is all about 5 senses, and it looks like, in a time of remote learning, it looks like a robot dancing. In the time of how it sounds like, happiness sounds like, ringing of bell to me. How happiness smells like, the beautiful fragrance of the flower that Winnie the Pooh is just smelling. Happiness feels like relationships, being a feeling of being together, a feeling of connectedness. That is what it feels like. And how does it taste like? It tastes like, ice cream melting in my mouth. So this is what my student had to share. She had shared a mood board. So this is what to her happiness looks like. She's a tennis player. It sounds like she loves listening to music. It looks like it smells like, the fragrance of a candle, the smell, the fragrant candle. And a smile is the feeling that she gets when she's happy. And it tastes like donuts, because donuts are something which is very, very close to her heart. So last but not the least, let's create a perfect recipe for happiness. I had shared, these are my recipes because I just got them to show as an example from internet. But this is what my student had to share about her recipe of happiness. She shared that 1 large cup of smile, 3 medium cups of sweetness, ½ cup of goodwill, 3 cups of humor, 5 cups of positive energy, and 10 cups of self-esteem, and a pinch of luck. So this is what the perfect recipe for happiness for her. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Gunjan, and really appreciate you. This is great. I think there's a lot of really I appreciate these really practical things that are there. There's a lot of stuff that can be taken away, and so many. Oh, go ahead.
And these are just 5 to 10 minutes activities that we
Yeah.
can do it in our classroom. We do have, sometime the form tutor or the mother teacher has some time with the classroom. So these are some activities.
Mm-hmm.
Talking also makes so much of difference in students. They feel, connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, the last thing I was going to say is that I also appreciate a lot of this stuff you're using in a remote learning environment, which is still very relevant for a lot of educators. But a lot of this stuff I think I could see being used anytime. And
Yeah,
so,
absolute, anytime.
yeah.
I told you, every teacher is a cell teacher. You can use it in your classrooms
Mm-hmm.
also. You can use it in your subjects also.
Mm-hmm.
Anything and everything.
Mm-hmm. So thank you again for joining us. And I want to let everybody know that, just a second, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here for a second. Let everyone know that we can continue this conversation in the social emotional learning and education community. It's right here. Gunjan is a regular presence there. So if you've got questions or want to
I
follow
would
up
be
on
more
anything that
than
you've
happy.
heard today, feel free to do so. And we'd all love for everyone to join in the conversation wherever you're hearing this right now. Come on over to our community and join the conversation around social emotional learning. So with that, I'm going to say thank everybody for attending today and for listening to this, whether you're watching live or you're watching in a recording. And we look forward to connecting down the road in the community in more of our social emotional learning speaker series that we'll be having coming up. So take care and stay healthy, everybody.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's always been a pleasure to be associated with Social Emotional Group, SELinEdu. And thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Thanks. Bye-bye.